Hey everybody, it's Debbie with Cool Cats Art. Today I wanted to do kind of a talking heads video on how to embellish your acrylic pours. Now, I usually embellish my pours when I do one that just didn't turn out all that well. And I didn't want to scrape it. It was good enough not to scrape, but not good enough to be a standalone piece. And that was the case with this pretty little pour. It was in beautiful greens with some blues, but without something on it, it just wasn't very exciting. It was pretty dull, but I love the colors and I wanted to do something with it. So I'm a big butterfly fan. So I just sketched out a butterfly on my canvas and gessoed over it in the outlines. And if you're not very good at sketching, I just drew mine out on a piece of construction paper and cut it out and then just traced it on here. If you're not very good at freehand drawing, if you've got a projector, you could project the picture of the butterfly onto the construction paper and get it the size you want, then cut it out and lay it on here. And then I just go in with modeling paste and fill in the wings and the body of the butterfly. And then you just simply go back in after that has dried up, and I did that with a palette knife. You just go back in and paint it with your acrylic paints the way that you want it. And then I used a glue gun with some colored glue in it, black, just to put his little antennas on there. And if you wind up, this I did with a glue gun too. I outlined his body with the glue gun, and then that created kind of a well in there. So then you just kind of thin down some acrylic paint and maybe use a pipette or something and pipe it in there. So that's how I did this butterfly. I've done a number of butterflies similar to this. And it adds some dimension to the painting, and then it turns this somewhat blah, I believe it was a flip cup, into something really pretty. So that's one idea. I've done a number of these sculpted sort of things on my poured backgrounds, and I'm going to show you another one. This was a sculpted. I did 3 or 4 of these that turned out really pretty. Let me grab it off my wall back here. They are somewhat fragile, these that you do out of the modeling clay, because the clay, you know, it's not fired. It dries and it's hard, but it still remains somewhat brittle. I'm going to look at my monitor here and see if I've got this in the right spot for you, because I can't tell from sitting there. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. This is the same thing again, only I did a sunflower. I sculpted a sunflower, and I put it on this pour, which was not very interesting. It was a bad bloom pour, and it had a big gap up here in the center right here. And I love the colors, and I love the way they all blended and everything, but it was never going to be a standalone piece. So I sculpted a sunflower out of modeling clay and painted it, and I applied it to the canvas with glue all. And maybe some, actually no, I did not do that. I applied it to the canvas with a glue gun. Yes, and it worked fine. Now, this is very labor intensive because I had to cut out each little petal individually. You roll out the modeling clay like with a rolling pin and get it quite thin, and then you go in and with an X-Acto knife and you just cut your separate little petals out, and you lay them off to the side to dry thoroughly, and then you paint them, and then you apply each one of them separately to the painting. And something similar that I did with the inside circle here with the seed pod, you just roll out the modeling clay, and in this case I wanted it to look like there were seed pods in there, and I took the inside of a I'm seeing if I can still have it here. I don't think I do anymore. I took the inside of an ink pen out that actually holds the ink cartridge, and on the end there's a little hole, and then I just punched out the clay, and it left these little divots that look like seed pods. And so that's how I did the center of it. Like I say, it's very labor intensive, but it's really pretty. And I painted the blue, it's a blue and yellow sunflower, and I painted it with metallic paint. And so that worked out real well. And I think it's quite a really, really pretty little piece. And I didn't have to scrape the canvas. I didn't have to pour over it. That just worked out really nice, in my opinion. Okay, let me show you one more sunflower that I did. You could put any kind of flower on there. Doesn't have to be a sunflower. Here is another sunflower that I did. I'm never really quite sure if these things are showing upside down to you or right side up. So I'm going to look and see and make note of it. Okay, that would be right side up right there, which would be upside down from my viewpoint. There we go. This was a flip cup pour that definitely did not work out. It was just kind of a melty mess, but I love the colors. And so I did the same thing. I sculpted another sunflower on it, individual petals separately, and the seed pod in the middle, glued it all up with a glue gun. And a few of the petals I actually twisted and turned a little this way and that way, because they would do that in nature, you know, they wouldn't just stand out perfectly straight. And that makes it even more fragile because these little tips could break off. If you're going to mail this, you're going to have to really package it carefully. Only this time I also sculpted a stem and some leaves. And then you color it with your acrylic paint. Very, very pretty. Once I added the sunflower to it, it made it pop, and the background just was lovely with it. It's like it was purposely done just for that sunflower. And I've done 2 or 3 other sunflowers. I've sold a couple of them. So that is one thing you can do with modeling clay. I'm back here putting it back on the wall because it's so fragile. I don't want to bump it on the table. And here is another painting that I did that was also a flip cup. I got to turn it this way for it to be right side up for you. And it was interesting. I mean, it really had some nice colors. That's one of the first pour paintings that I did, as a matter of fact, as a flip cup. And I liked the colors and I liked the pattern and everything, but it wasn't a standalone piece. So this time what I did was I sketched out 2 tropical fish with intertwining tail fins. And then I took what's called, let's see, let me see if I can get it over here on my shelf. I took this product made by Pebeo. It's called Mixtion Relief. And it squirts out a really thin little line. You can outline things with this when you squirt it out. You have to be really, really careful. It's kind of tedious. But I outlined the fish after I'd sketched it on here lightly with this relief. It's a kind of like a glue sort of thing. And then I filled in the tail section with glitter paint. And where I had used this relief stuff from Pebeo, I went in, after I had filled the color in on the fish, I went in and took some gilding foil and foiled it so that it was outlined in gold. And this turned out real pretty, especially when you get it in the right light. It's just, it really pops. And I used colors on the fish, you know, that worked with the background. So you can do that. This is one of my actual favorite embellished pieces. I've had it for quite a while now. And you can put anything on there. Okay, you can do flowers that way. You can do fish. You can do just anything. Then here is a painting that I did using a lot of glue gun work, which works out pretty good. And you can really get some nice relief in your paintings using a glue gun. This has got several elements on it. It was an acrylic pour background that was really, really dull. I love the turquoise and the kind of magenta vivid colors, but it was just a blah piece by itself. And for a while, I was into doing flower head paintings. I also do some brushwork painting. And I was doing a bunch of flower heads, women's heads with loaded with, you know, a head full of flowers. And this was a take on that. I had an oil portrait of a girl, that's what this is, and I cut it out of the canvas that it was on, and then I glued her head onto this acrylic pour background. And all of the flowers and the butterflies, and there's a little bee there, I did those with a glue gun. Again, you can use a projector to project these flowers on here. They're just sort of abstract flowers, and you can kind of freehand them too. Just sketch them lightly on your canvas and then go back in with the glue gun and go around the outside and define each flower and the butterflies and whatnot. And you're going to create a little well in here, so you fill in the well whatever color you want it to be with acrylic paint. And it dries up. And this makes a real dimensional kind of picture. And it is very time consuming. You can do this without painting a portrait to go on it, of course, because you can just paint one with just, you know, nothing but florals on it. But that works quite well and holds up very well too. I really try not to trash too many of these canvases because, well, gosh, the paint's so expensive. I really don't want to trash the painting if I can at all keep from it. I want to do something with it to fix it. Now, this is a puddle pour acrylic background, and I poured this deliberately. I knew I was going to put a cat on it, and I was going to let some of the pattern show through the cat. I did a series of what's called atomic cat paintings, and the atomic cats were popular back in the 50s. They were solid black and had different designs and things on them. I thought they were really interesting. So I wanted a real colorful background, which this is. And then I just left holes open here and there in parts of the cat where, see here in his eye socket, the painting is coming through, and the ears. And once again, if you have a projector, you can find a picture of a cat you like on the internet or wherever and project it on there and sketch it out. If you can freehand it, that's fine too. Or if you find a stencil that you like, that's cool too. Whatever means you need to use to transfer the drawing onto your canvas. And then the rest is just, you know, fill it in the black. Now, it takes a lot of layers of paint to cover up, you know, what's underneath it. That's typical of acrylic paints. But I've done a number of animals this way on different backgrounds, and particularly a lot of turtles. My husband is a really great painter, and he has painted some very large canvases with some absolutely gorgeous sea turtles on there. And I'm going to dig up some pictures and hopefully put those in there as I'm talking to you about it. We usually do the backgrounds with a flip cup, and we do it in ocean colors. And I've done about 3 or 4 of some quite large ones and sold them all. And they were just completely gorgeous. I have to say, they just turned out magnificently. I painted a couple of them. My husband painted a couple of them. I think his paintings are much better than mine on that sort of thing. But anyways, we enjoyed doing that. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list of ways that you can embellish an acrylic pour, because the possibilities are pretty much endless. But I'm going to talk about something I'm just starting to do. In fact, I haven't even done it yet. I've got it designed, so I'm going to show you what that is, and hopefully it's going to work out. If you're like me, and I hope you can hear me because I'm talking across the room, if you're like me, you wind up with a lot of pours you're not all that happy with. They're not horrible. You don't want to ditch them. You think they're good enough not to pour over, but they're just not, working for you. Well, me, like most everybody else that does acrylic pours, we wind up with a lot of these 8-inch tiles because we practice on them. Some people actually frame them and display them. You can put them in little tripod stands and things, and they can be tabletop art. Well, I had collected quite a few of these over the last couple of years and hadn't done anything with them. Of course, that you can soak these in water and scrape it all off and reuse them, but I had just collected up quite a few and had already polyurethane them. So I just had a stack of them. And a few days ago, I was thinking, I'm just going to have to ditch some of these canvases, and I just don't want to pour over them again, and they're not good enough to keep. So I got them together, and I don't know what just hit me, an idea just hit me, and I said, I wonder if I can turn some of these into some more dimensional paintings using these tiles that I have, because a lot of times you can get these great looking floral designs and stuff on your tiles because you don't have very far to have to spread the paint, and it just works out well. So I had a number of tiles in some of the colors of the paintings that I was trying to decide what to do with. I said, what if I put some of the tiles on the paintings and jazz them up, make them more 3D, give them a nice background, give them a real better element of interest to them. And I think it's going to work out very, very well, because I am liking what I'm seeing so far. I had this one that I'm put in the shape of a diamond. You see how it really gave the center, it gave you a focal point on the picture. It did not have one before, but now it does. And it adds a lot of depth and dimension. I'm extremely happy with this little piece right here. And I can't wait to glue it up and see the final end result. So I'm real happy about that. I've got several of these picked out that I'm going to do this with. And here is another one that I absolutely didn't think I was going to be able to do anything with. This canvas. See, it had this big, colors are real pretty, but it's had this giant white spot down here. Now this doesn't cover it up entirely, but it takes your attention away from it and gives the whole entire painting a focal point. And I love the colors in the middle. They're big enough, the design is big enough in the middle that when you step back from it, you don't lose it. Because that's the problem with some poor paintings. You have this beautiful little cluster of cells in the middle of the painting, but you can't see them once you step back 2 feet. The design won't hold up. So I was really, really happy with this. I think it's going to be a beautiful piece when I finish it. So I'm really excited about putting that together. And I'll show you one more using this sort of thing, maybe 2. Here's another one. I had done this background in some real pretty colors, but it was a deconstructed bloom, and as you can see, it's just nothing. There's nothing going on. I didn't like all the black was too much. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do with it? And then I put a tile on it. And this one, I didn't use all the exact same colors. I kind of used something a little bolder. And you don't have to use similar colors. You can use contrasting, complementary colors, whatever. And you can put it as a square instead of a diamond. I kind of like it as a diamond. But I think I'm going to do something like this with this one. And there you go. You got a focal point that you can definitely see from across the room. And it's got a real pretty background to frame it with. Okay, so I'm real excited about this. And one more, because this is an example of one that, oh, I see that my blocker just fell down. Let me put that up or you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. This is one that I actually, on this tile here, had poured a test tile in these colors. So that worked out really well, and I just set it aside. But then when I tried to do the painting itself, I did not like how it turned out. It was just dull. I didn't like it. It's not bad by any means, but it just wasn't what I was going for. So I said, well, let's see what does the tile do. Adding the tile to the top of it, to the middle of it, I mean. And voila, it gives it some dimension. It gives it a lot more interest. And the original painting is working a lot better as a background as opposed to the entire thing itself. So, enough of that. Now, I don't have an example of it because I'm not all that crazy about it, but a lot of people are. I've seen people do, that thing is just determined to fall down, so we're just talking now, so I'll leave it alone. People do tattoos, temporary tattoos on their paintings. I don't like them that well because you can't get really big ones. They're usually pretty small, and you can tell that they're a tattoo even though they're pretty cool looking. I don't know about the longevity of them. People do varnish over them and things. So I don't want to cut it down, but yet I'm not real crazy about it. But I've seen people use it and use it very nicely and creatively. Well, in order to keep this video from being too long, I'm going to cut it off here. But I encourage you to also investigate other artists and how they embellish their acrylic pours. There's so many different ways. If you are a fine artist and you can do portraits and things, you can really produce some outstanding portrait work using an acrylic pour background. And so I'm going to, at the end of this video, and I'm fixing to end it, post some pictures for you to see of some different things that I have done to, other than what I've shown you today, that I have used to embellish my pours. And I encourage you, try some things. You may save a lot of canvases and produce an even better piece. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I would love it if you would like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.